Hi guys, I'm just in my car today, but I was really feeling called to talk about the importance of telling the whole story when it comes to looking at these older myths and legends. So, recently I was in a class and we were talking about Macha. So she's one aspect of the Marigan, but almost like a triple goddess in herself. She's got a lot going on. So Macha, I've heard before that she put a curse on the men of Ulster so that in the hour of their greatest need they would be rendered as helpless as a woman in childbirth. And that's like that's a curious curse coming from a modern times, and like there's no explanation of that. It's like, "Oh wow, that must be a dangerous dark goddess to do something like that." Okay, so let's talk about the whole story here. um so there was a man living his life, and a woman appeared. I feel like children, animals, and women just appear in a lot of Celtic mythology. She appeared, and like she was a good wife. They never wanted for food or this or that, and life was good. And so he was going to the town fair one season, and she just said, you would do well not to boast while you're there, or something along those lines. And he's like, yeah, sure. What am I going to boast about? So he goes, and the king at the time has very fast horses. And this man says, my wife can run faster than your horses. So the king really doesn't like that. And they seize him and they send people back to their house. And so like soldiers show up at her house and they're like, you need to come and prove that you can beat the king's horses. And she's like, I'm pregnant with child. Can this wait? And they're like, your husband is going to be killed unless you come. So she's like, all right. So she comes and she appeals to the people of Ulster and she says, all of you were born from a mother. Can you not understand? I am at this time 8 or 9 months pregnant. Can this not wait a few weeks? And everyone says no. And so she races, and so she beats the horses, and then she gives birth right there on the field. And as she's giving birth, as she's screaming in labor, she says, everybody who can hear me scream right now, may you be rendered as helpless as a woman in labor in your hour of greatest need. And so that was her curse from being asked to do the unthinkable. And it was just towards the men, not women or children. And so when it came to a significant battle being fought in Ulster, there were no men to fight. There was only Cuchulainn, who had also pissed off the Marigan, her sister, so it wasn't a good look for Ulster at this time. There were no men except for one person to fight for the nation of Ulster when they needed it most. And so this is an example of how these older land-based deities, they come to the people and they ask that we show that we are worthy of ruling the land. So yeah, they appear to us, they walk among us in human or animal form, and they ask us if we are kind to strangers, or if we, are acting in a way that is compassionate and in line with the energy of the earth, and whether we deserve to have, ownership, whether we deserve to have a place on this earth. And so like, yeah, if you're telling a pregnant woman to run, to beat horses based off some, stupid thing that her husband said, is that a good society? Do you deserve to live on this land? And I just feel like that's why it's so important when we are studying these goddesses to look at the whole story. Because if you just heard that she'd cursed people, you just think she's a dark goddess. But when you look at the whole story, we can start to understand the logic, and also just the most like important underlying theme of respect for the land, that the land speaks to us in a certain way with a certain intelligence. And as we shifted into a more industrial society, we pulled out of that logic and we made it seem vindictive for not doing exactly what we want. And the goddess is, the goddess does not always have to be kind and warm and do what we want. The dark side of the goddess is not evil, but it does have consequences for disrespect of life.